Hello and welcome to a special podcast on the Blood Red channel. And as those of you watching on YouTube will be able to see, I'm delighted to have alongside me a man who has become a real part of the furniture at Anfield over the last half a century or so. George Sephton has been Anfield matchday announcer since 1971, making his debut the same day as legendary striker Kevin Keegan. And since then, the Reds have won 6 European Cups, 11 league titles, 6 FA Cups, 8 League Cups, 3 Europa League titles, and this season, of course, the FIFA Club World Cup too. George, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Good to be here. Glad to be speaking to the outside world.
Yes, we're obviously in very strange times at the moment, and it's really difficult for everyone. But, how are you getting on during the lockdown?
Strange to relate. It's okay. My wife is looking after me. By strange coincidence, we started going back to the old-fashioned way of having milk and newspapers delivered about a month before lockdown. So we're doing okay. Obviously, once in a while you start the screaming habdabs. You just want to go out. I'd just like to go in a shop or shake somebody's hand, anything. And obviously a football match would be nice, but that's under discussion at the moment. I'll be glad when somebody up there makes a decision and we can get on with what we've got to do.
Yeah, hopefully we might know a bit more by the end of this week. We're recording this a little bit in advance of when it's going to come out, but hopefully by the time this is published, there might be a little bit more news on when Liverpool and the rest of the Premier League can come back. But let's go back right to the beginning. You're obviously the second longest serving matchday stadium announcer in the English game at the moment, and you've become a real tradition and sort of part of the history of Liverpool Football Club. That's definitely fair to say, and anyone who's been at Anfield will recognise your voice. So take us back to day one. How on earth did you end up getting this job?
That's a very reasonably well-known story nowadays. I was at a match in the spring of 71 with my wife. We were standing in the old paddock, which for any of you of a certain age won't recognise, that was what is now the front lower of the main stand. It was a standing enclosure then. The guy who was on the old tannoy at the time, I didn't know he was a stand-in for the fellow who was doing it regularly. And he'd been there a couple of months. He'd made some horrendous bloomers. And that particular night he did something stupid. And I said to my wife, this guy's embarrassing. And she just looked at me deadpan and said, it's all right for you standing down here, but you couldn't do any better. And for whatever reason, to this day, I don't know what possessed me. I went home and wrote a very long letter to Peter Robinson, which boiled down to, dear sir, gives a job, I can do that. And the next thing I know, I'm in Peter's office. And the next thing I know after that, I'm up on the old TV gantry in the roof of the old main stand, which, as it happens, was new at the time. The main stand we had opened in August 71. It was a strange old world.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously been there almost half a century now, as I said. And I mean, at the time when you first got the job, did you ever think that you'd still be doing it to this day?
No, absolutely. That never occurred to me. I remember at the end of the first season, sort of politely asking Peter Robinson, was I coming back in August? And he said something like, oh, you're part of the furniture now, but nothing sort of to commit himself. And I thought, well, here we go. And then anyway, I got the call and I went back. In theory, I'm still on trial. I haven't got the job permanently, but I think I'm reasonably well established now. It'd be nice to get the 50 seasons out of the way, to be quite honest. And the way things are at the moment, my 50th season should be starting in August 2020. It could start in August 2021 for all we know. I mean, when the men in suits make their decision, we might have a better idea, but at the moment it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's a difficult scenario for all Liverpool fans, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. But obviously we've been missing the football for the last few weeks. But I read recently that in your entire time at Anfield, you've only ever missed 6 matches. Is that true? And if so, that's quite the achievement.
It's annoying that the way it fell out. I'd like to have a clean record, but things happened. I know 1973, I was best man at somebody's wedding. 1974, I missed the testimonial. I missed Ron Yeats' testimonial. I was set upon up in Kirby the Saturday after the cup final in 74. And I listened to Ron Yeats' testimonial on hospital radio. I was lying in hospital having my jawbone sewn back together. Then 1993, I was working away in Walthamstow. Boreham Wood. I was staying in Walthamstow, working in Boreham Wood. I just couldn't get to the midweek games. My friend Ron Tierney, who is works for the BBC, has done for a long, long time. He is now my understudy again, strange to relate, because he moved back north from London 18 months ago. So he's my understudy now. He did the midweeks. I came home for the weekends. And then, last but not least, October 2008, my eldest son got married down in Crawley. And obviously I had to be there. We were hoping against hope that when the fixtures came out in 2008 that Liverpool would be away that weekend, but they weren't. We were playing Wigan at home. So there was no chance of the game being moved to the Sunday. So I missed the game, and that was weird. I know a few people were a bit perplexed when I didn't turn up. And my other lads started getting text messages during the ceremonies of what's going on, where's your dad, is he okay, but touch wood, I haven't missed one since, so I'm going to miss, if they play behind closed doors, I imagine I'll be missing 1 or 2 this year, because they won't. I don't think they'll need me to play Even Never Walk Alone to an empty stadium. I'll be very pleased that they do, because apart from anything else, I'm a Liverpool fan. I want to be there when they win this league. But as I say, that's all for discussion. It could go umpteen different ways, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, let's wait and see what happens in that regard. But, I mean, over your time with Liverpool, you must have met some pretty famous figures and sort of been involved with players and managers and various sorts of things. Is there anybody who you'd say you've become particularly close to or have enjoyed meeting the most?
Well, in different ways. My wife used to work with Steve McManaman's mum. And when he was coming through the ranks and coming up, obviously it was weird talking across from different aspects of the club. I still see Steve occasionally, and he's always very pleased to see me. He always stop for a chat, know his wife and all the rest of it. Players of that era and previously, I'm still pally with. This current crop are different in as much as it's the way the club is now. There are 2 blocks of people. Well, there are probably 3. There's the full-time admin staff down in Chapel Street, the playing staff up in Melwood, and obviously the management, and then the peasants, the part-time casual. I'm still listed as a part-time casual steward. Strange to relate. That's it's a joke in this house that when I die, on my headstone, my wife's going to have inscribed, I am not a bloody steward. I have a great deal of respect for the stewards at Anfield, but I am not a steward. I'm obviously what I do is unique and a one-off job. So I'm very proud to be part of Liverpool Football Club, but it's very odd. I mean, people have perceptions of me, grown up over the years. They think I get paid 100 grand a week like the players. I go home with 500 free tickets every week. and I'm bosom pals with Jurgen Klopp. None of those things could be further from the truth. I mean, meeting people, you meet, obviously, you get to meet players, and some of the older players, certainly. I mean, the likes of Ian St John, who was my idol when I was a kid. Kenny Dalglish, who's still my idol now, who, again, he always looks like he's so pleased to see you. He's wonderful, Kenny. Then, I've only met Jurgen, 3 times since he's been here. He's on a match day now. Where I sit basically means I'm literally set apart from the playing staff. They live on the main stand side of the ground, and I live on the far side of the ground, and never the twain shall meet. But I always say the best thing about my job is the people I've met. I mean, I said to somebody the other day, I mean, over the years, I've got to be on first name terms with several big people in the entertainment industry. Actors, celebrity fans, basically. Some musicians. Elvis Costello, for instance, I managed to broker his 65th birthday party at Anfield last year, which was just insane. I don't know if you read the story online anyway. I'm a huge fan of Elvis Costello's wife, Diana Krall. And somebody I'd always wanted to meet, and I got to meet her 18 months ago. And after I got onto the club and organised his 65th birthday trip to Anfield, I said to somebody, I think that woman's wonderful, and now apparently she thinks I'm wonderful too, so I can live with that. Take me outside and shoot me now. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of Liverpool fans who think the same way. Obviously, you've become, as I said, a part of the furniture at Anfield. And, like myself, you're fortunate to be there, obviously, in normal circumstances, week in, week out, when the Reds are playing, and you get to see this brilliant team every week. Jurgen Klopp, of course, as you say, is in charge of the players now. And for me, the bond between the supporters and the players has never really been stronger. Would you agree with that under Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah, absolutely. I did an interview with a German TV company recently. They were talking, obviously, about Jurgen. And I said he's probably the only manager in my time who's come close to the Shankly level. I excluded Kenny from the conversation because Kenny, I don't think of Kenny Dalglish as merely a manager, if you see what I mean. It sounds odd, but he was he's still the best player I've ever seen, Kenny. And I don't just mean at Anfield, I mean anywhere. I wouldn't swap anybody for Kenny. He was a terrific manager. He's a great bloke. What he did through Hillsborough set him aside from anybody. So you exclude him from the conversation about people who are just managers of Liverpool Football Club. But on that level, Jurgen is up there with Shanks, and the way he gels with the supporters, the way he thinks of the supporters, and the way they think of him. I mean, over the years, you know yourself that managers have come and gone, and certain managers have understood the ethos of Liverpool Football Club. People say that a manager either gets it or they don't. There's no middle road. Rafa did. Jurgen obviously does. Not sure that Brendan Rodgers did. I think he did. But then Roy Hodgson really just didn't understand. He's first week he's there, he's talking about my pal Alex Ferguson. At that point, you think, whoa, hang on. This is Liverpool. I had a Facebook friend request the other day from somebody I don't know whose nickname was Alex Ferguson, and I just said, no, sorry. Is this a wind-up or not? Well, I'm not being your Facebook friend, mate. Click, go away. So that's the way it was. But Jurgen, he's such a dynamo. He's such a dynamic person. I mean, he's got the charisma that Shanks had in spades. I always said Shankly the sad thing about Bill Shankly was that he didn't go into politics when he finished with football, because the world would be a different place. I swear it would. And when Jurgen eventually gets fed up with Liverpool, I hope they just plug him into the national grid and leave him there, because you keep the country going for quite a while.
Yeah, he certainly would, and he certainly inspired a few brilliant Anfield nights, which we're going to get onto in just a few moments' time. But I know you've spoken in the past quite extensively about sort of your match day routine and the things that you have to do in and around Anfield. But I want to go into a little bit more detail on the music. Obviously, Liverpool as a city and music has sort of absolutely interlinked over the years, and it sort of makes a huge difference, I think, to the match day experience for fans, what music you play. It's a pretty big responsibility, isn't it?
It's frightening sometimes. You think, oh, whoa, I made a difference today. One or two games over the years, I've come home and I think, oh, I enhanced the atmosphere. I helped Liverpool, tonight to get where they were. It's much more difficult now than it was, simply because of the all-seater stadium. Before 1994, the atmosphere used to build for a couple of hours. You could feel it building. And sometimes, especially in the 70s, when Leeds were our big rivals, when we played them or United or Everton, the gates would be open sort of 3 hours before kick-off. And there'd be a lot of people who wanted to listen to music. And I'd get to 3 o'clock and I'd slump back into my chair, exhausted. But nowadays, the atmosphere, I've realised that it's as good as it ever was quite a lot of the time. But it doesn't build. It's like an on-off switch now. It happens in the last, 15, 20 minutes before kickoff, because people aren't in the ground. There's no need to be. When I was a kid, or even in my teens, going to Anfield, you had to get there early, so to make sure you get in and make sure you get the spec. I had my own favourite slap bang in the middle of the Kop, halfway up back to a crush barrier, and you had to get there in queue and battle your way in to get your space. Nowadays, 54,000 people turning up to Anfield, they've got a piece of paper in their pocket that says you're going to get in and this is where you're going to be sitting. You no need to worry. So they're inclined to spend an extra half hour in, especially on a bad day. And you sit in the lounge when it's nice and warm and there's a TV and food and drink. Whoa, why would you dash out? But when it gets going, it really is something else.
In terms of the order of the music that you play, how much thought goes into, I'll play this one first and then that one, or what's the sort of process behind that?
I spend a lot of time thinking about it. Nowadays, obviously, I'm not working 9 to 5 anymore. Before I retired from the full-time job, I used to have to just basically throw a pile of CDs in my bag and go up to Liverpool. Now I spent the time between games downloading stuff, ripping CDs and shuffling playlists around. So I've got something worth having. And then the order I play in, obviously the quieter stuff first. Then I'll play stuff that's sort of current, out of the current charts maybe, on stuff I don't like, but I know other people do like. I'll play, up to an hour before kickoff, and then gently build it up over a period of time. So the last half hour is stuff that the crowd love, the regular anthems, and obviously the last few months that's fallen into a pattern. Somebody suggested to me about 6-7 months ago about playing AC/DC Thunderstruck, and I banged that on, and after Peter had read the teams one day, and it was brilliant. And it's perfect for building an atmosphere. And then there was this business before that with Tower of Strength by the Mission, which I was playing for a while. I know Wayne Hussey of the Mission, who strangely lives in Brazil now. He has done for a long time. But I know when he comes, he's chuffed a bit. I get to play him. But Tower of Strength is, again, it's great thumping anthem that builds an atmosphere up. And the other thing, incidentally, about Tower of Strength, it goes on for 8 minutes, so I can quite happily fill any unexpected gaps with that and fade it out if needs be. But there are things I have to squeeze in. Obviously, You Never Walk Alone is time nowadays. I think it was Rafa who moved it, who issued the instruction to move it to when the teams were out on the pitch, which I didn't like at the time, but now we've got into a routine and it works. It works well now. But before that, things change week in, week out. If there's people in the audience, I mean, when Elvis Costello's there, I'll play a couple of his tracks, obviously. I know Paul McCartney's son-in-law quite well. He comes with his kids occasionally, and when they're in the stand, I'll be playing a couple of Paul McCartney tracks, and then things like. And then there are so many good new bands I like to squeeze in, but they have to come in the slot before the atmospheric stuff. So it's quite a trick, and obviously I'm lucky because I started going to Anfield January 1960 as a fan. So I built my way up through the Beatles era. 1962 was when we got our first proper sound system, which coincided with the Merseybeat era and the sudden burst of new rock, Liverpool-based and British-based rock music. So that's when the two things married together, and I'm still living on the coattails of that all these years later.
Yeah, looking ahead to next season then, let's suppose Liverpool do win the Premier League again, potentially. Yeah. Everyone inside Anfield, they can celebrate properly. That would, of course, be the 50th year that you've been at Anfield as well. Yeah. I mean, might that be the ideal time to go out on a high, or do you want to continue to go and do this job for as long as possible?
I change my mind week in, week out. Sometimes you think, this is so much stress, I can do without it. Obviously, I want to get the 50 in. That goes without saying. But it's like, what did John Lennon say? Life is what happens when you're making other plans, and that's me at the moment. I mean, first of all, my first objective, of course, is to survive the coronavirus. Touch wood, I'm doing okay. I'm locked in my house, feeling okay. Get back to Anfield, we'll see what cooks. Get this season's trophy won. That'll be a huge, huge milestone in my life. And the end of the next season, 50 finished and done. That's a good time to go. But then I'm thinking, they're expanding the Anfield Road stand. I would love to be playing to 61,500 people as opposed to 54. And if I get the opportunity to do that, great. But I mean, I'm in my mid-70s now. I feel great. I'm still got the desire, and I'm still obviously doing the right stuff with the playlist. I might lose my marbles. I might get run over by a bus. The club might say, "Okay, George, you've had a good innings. Now, here's a seat in the stands. Go away." I don't know. I really do not know. I wouldn't like to bet any money on it. I've got no sort of overriding feelings at the moment about the future. And as I say, the way things are at the moment, you're just glad to get through this particular nightmare. It's weird. I know I told a few people recently, earlier this year, I did a few interviews with people, and the people I was talking to were sort of saying, when Liverpool win the league, and I kept saying, I've got this horrible feeling hanging over me. I don't know what it is. There's this strange feeling at the back of my mind that something awful is going to happen. I'm making a joke about the FA will suddenly discover that Virgil van Dijk's paperwork was out of order or something and deduct 50 points. You know, there was just something I knew at the back of my mind. I couldn't relax and say, here we go, we're going to win the league. Obviously, it's all happened, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's really, really freaked me out. And at this point, I'm just, I spend an awful lot of time watching news bulletins, and every chink of light, like the infection rate's falling, this is falling, that's happening, they're going to undo lockdown. I just, listen to it every minute I can and take every crumb of comfort I can. That's what I want to just get through this, and then we'll worry about 2021. I mean, this is a strange year. I mean, my wife and I have been married 50 years in November. My poor wife turned 80 the first day of lockdown. You couldn't have timed it worse. We had a big party planned, obviously. That all went belly up. That ended up on a video conference with the rest of the family. Had a poor woman standing there with her birthday cake. And it's just insane what's going on. We want to get through this and then take a deep breath and hope that everything gets back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope that the football and normal life can resume sooner rather than later, and let's just take it one step at a time. But before we finish, let's move on to possibly the greatest night that Anfield has ever witnessed. It's almost a year as we speak that Liverpool beat Barcelona 4-0 last season. And before we go on to the game itself, what were your thoughts after the first leg? Obviously, Liverpool had lost 3-0, Lionel Messi's wonderful free kick. Did you think it was over?
Yes, really and truly. I said when, in the lead up to the game, you're thinking, well, that's sad. 3-0 down. I know we've done it before on a neutral ground, but 3-0 to what is allegedly the best team on the planet. We didn't get an away goal. 2 of our star players are crocked. It's as near as damn it to impossible to do anything about that. It really is. So let's turn up to Anfield and enjoy the football. There are occasions over the years you watched. I mean, we watched World Cup and the Euros on TV when England aren't playing. You're watching Holland and France and thinking, what a great football match, and you enjoyed the football. It was going to be one of those nights and nothing more.
Yeah, certainly it was a strange one going into the second leg. But you fast forward a week and, on that day leading up to the match, was there any part of you that sort of felt that there might be a little bit of hope? Was there a sense that something might be brewing?
I have to be honest and say not really. I don't think anything was brewing until Divock scored the first goal. And then you think, that's a goal, that's one, And the way, just the atmosphere in the place and the body language of the Barca players, it was very strange at that point. I think it was like having a script written. You couldn't have worked it out better.
Yeah, I think if it was a story that one of us had written, nobody would have believed that it's actually taken place.
Where the Rovers lived, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the Divock Origi goal early doors. Was that the moment that you properly believed, or did it take the second goal for you to fully understand what was happening?
It was the second goal that did it. I remember Phil Thompson talking about Istanbul, and he said there was a moment when we switched from hope to belief, and the second goal was that moment. And obviously the equaliser. And you could see the looks on the Barcelona players' faces, thinking, what's going on here? This wasn't supposed to happen. We're Barcelona. And they couldn't cope with it. They really couldn't cope with it.
And when that third goal goes in and it's 3-0 on the night, you've obviously got to announce the goal scorer. Yeah. Do you have to sort of compose yourself before you do that?
I try. There are one or two occasions when I've lost, but touch wood, I like to think I've been professional. But at that point, I really was, stepping up a couple of decibels. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I really just could not believe it.
Yeah, Gini Wijnaldum and Divock Origi, the heroes on the night, as well as plenty of others, and Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, with, of course, that quickly taken corner which has gone down in history. We've seen so many Champions League nights with, Steven Gerrard and various players with inherent Liverpool connections. Do you think it makes it even more special when there's a Scouser in the team?
Absolutely. I don't think of Liverpool without Scousers in the team. We've got obviously Trent is well established. We've got Curtis Jones coming through. I think he's going to be a big star. And the years and years ago, Shanks used to have what he called the spine of his team. There were Scousers in it, and the rest of them were Scottish by and large. And but the spine now, I think we've got to have a Liverpool heart to the team. We had a few years ago, we had Stevie G and Jamie Carragher. And the rest of the team were literally built around them. John Smith, the old chairman, used to say you couldn't win the league without a Scot in the team. And now obviously we've got Robbo, so we've done that bit of the jigsaw. So I think we're well placed. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, he must be permanently living in cloud cuckoo land. I know the guy appreciates it as well. He's not, a big head that thinking like he's crafted. He wants to go on and improve and get more trophies, and he's not got a bad little medal collection already, and he's still only a lad. And I'll say that night, and I had a quiz question last year. What does the name Oakley Cannonier mean in the history of Liverpool Football Club? And people looked at me crackily. He was the ball boy who had the cokum to throw that ball so quickly to Trent. And he watch it. I watched that little clip over and over again. When I get a spare 5 minutes, I watch it, and I still can't believe it. It was as if the rest of the match just froze in the background. The Barcelona players, the rest of the Liverpool team, and the spectators. And when it went in, I thought, is he going to allow that? And the referee's pointing for a goal, and I'm waiting for VAR to burst into life. Nothing happened. And if you watch a playback, there was quite a delay before I announced that goal. I genuinely could not believe it. And then, of course, I went ballistic like everybody else. And then you sit, biting your fingernails for the rest of the game. Just hoping against hope that Barca don't squeeze a goal in, because if they did, it was all for nothing. But we got through it, and that really was the best atmosphere I've ever been involved in as a spectator or as the stadium announcer. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
At the end of the game, what was the sort of overriding emotion? Was it relief, joy, disbelief?
All three. Relief, obviously, when the final whistle went, and then the joy of realising what we've done. And I don't think I slept that night. I think I came in and sat and looked at the wall for a couple of hours. Just there's no way I was going to sleep. I was so excited. And I know, the way it went at the end. I banged on "You Never Walk Alone." And just as the squad were lining up in front of the Kop, that again, he couldn't have written that. The timing was perfect. And then when we'd finished that, I'm thinking, right, they're all going to go home now. Nobody moved on the Kop. And I just looked down, and there's Imagine by John Lennon staring at me on this. I have a little stock of compilation CDs there, just in case my USB ports go awry. It does happen once in a while. I have actually broken a memory stick full of a match day music in there before now. And so I just grabbed this thing and bunged on the first track, which was Imagine. And the whole cop took it up. And it was the most magical moment ever. And I just, that's when I feel I'm part of what's going on down there. I know for a couple of days afterwards, I was getting messages from all over the place. And my favourite was a guy who said he was watching it in Sydney Casino, early hours of the morning, and he said the place basically was full of big, rugged, hairy Australian sheep farmers, and they were all in floods of tears. He said he'd never seen anything like it. I said, well, neither have I. I dare say I never will again, but I'm just glad the way it fell out.
Yeah, it certainly was a special night, and as you say, it was a perfect timing with the music at the end, and we've spoken so much about that. And of course, that Barcelona win led to Liverpool then beating Tottenham in the final.
Yeah.
Were you able to get over for that game in Madrid?
No.
No, where did you end up watching it?
Front room with my wife, as usual. I'm pretty happy to watch it with my wife in the front room, but I would love to have been there, but it just doesn't happen. Not included in the plans when it gets to big finals. Because once upon a time, up until Istanbul, UEFA used to like having the stadium speakers from the clubs there, but they changed all that in the run up to Istanbul, so that was the end of that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but it was certainly a special night for Liverpool Football Club, and certainly I'm sure you would have enjoyed watching that.
I did. We did. Of course, the first thought was it's a bit odd playing another English team in a big final like that, but once you get your head around that, it's still the Champions League final. And when you finish, you get hold your ears, and then the celebrations are just out of this world. That was probably the best weekend in the history of this city. Whichever side of the park you're on, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it certainly was, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get back to normal sooner rather than later,
yes.
and there can be a Premier League title parade and all the celebrations that come with
yes.
that. But for now, George, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We really do appreciate that. And that's all from us today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment or a review wherever you're listening or watching. And we'll be back soon right here on the Blood Red channel.